Hi, in this video, we will see static variable in Java. Okay, so static keyword. Static keyword is associated with the class, rather instance of the class. So it will not associate with the object, means instance of the class. It is directly associated with the class. Sorry, the static keyword is used mainly for memory management. Small mistake, okay. The static keyword is used mainly for memory management. Okay, so static keyword is associated with the class, rather instance of the class. Using static variable, we make our program memory efficient. And the first point we are seeing, that it's mainly used for memory management. Because of your static variable, we can make our program memory efficient. Need to call static variable or method using class name, rather instance of a class. In the instance variables, we have used, okay, the variables with the help of object, means instance of the class. But here we don't need the instance of the class. We can directly use the class name to access this static information. It can be used with, the static keyword can be used with the variables, methods, imports, blocks, class. Okay, so all these can be used with static. So static method cannot access the non-static variable or method directly. Right, that we have seen in our previous video, that in the public static void main, if you want to use these public void methods, normal methods, non-static methods, we need to create an object. So we cannot directly call those. This and super keywords cannot be used inside the static context. So this and super is related to object. So static is not related to object, it is class related. So these keywords cannot be used. So what is this? What is super? We will discuss in our upcoming videos in detail. So static variable. To declare a static, use static keyword in variable declaration. So we need to use that word static. So syntax, something like this. Syntax access modifier, static data type, variable name. So just an example, public static string company name. Okay, normally we will not use this. Public string is equal to something like that, right? String I equals string s is equal to something like that. But here public, you need to use this static keyword. Okay. Most important thing about static variables is that they belong to class level. What it means that there can be only one copy of variable at runtime. Okay. So in our previous video, instance variables, how many objects you create, that many instance variables will be created, right? And when it is get destroyed object, the instance variables get destroyed. But here, only one copy of variable at runtime, as it is associated with the class. So because of that, it will not occupy more memory, right? For each object, it will not create memory for that. So because of that, memory efficient. When you define a static variable in class definition, each instance of class will have access to that single copy. So how many objects you create, every object will access only a single copy of this one. It will not create multiple copies for each object. Separate instance of class will not have their own local copy like they have for non-static variables. Okay. So simple diagram here. So here what I have, I have a stack memory. Inside the stack memory, I created two objects. These are employee objects. Just an example. So this is obj1 object 1. This is obj2 object 2. So when you create an object, so these are instance variables. Okay. These are instance variables. For each instance variable, it will create emp ID, emp name, emp ID, emp name. If you create 100 objects, okay, 100 times this emp ID, emp name will get created. But if it is static, so it will create only one copy, that is company. This company is static variable. So it will create in the class memory, it will create only once, and each and every object will access this. Every object will have the access to this. Okay. So if you company, here company, If you have 100 objects 100 times, you need to reuse company. But I'm not doing that. Okay. So because of that, memory will be managed efficiently. So this is how the difference between these instance variables and static variable. Okay. When an object is created, it is always stored in the heap memory, and stack memory contains the reference to it. Okay. So this is how it will have a reference. Now, so let me clear this. So advantages of static keyword. Okay. Globally accessible means it will not depend on the instance of the class. Right. We no need to create an object. So can be accessed using class name. No object is needed. Only one instance per JVM. That is what we have seen. Only one time in the class memory it will create. So no need to create each instance. For each instance, we no need to create for that static variable. They do not modify the state of the object. Okay. Loads on JVM startup and disk drive and JVM shutdown. Those are per object instance variables. It is for at the JVM level. So we have some disadvantages also. These are always part of class memory if they are not used or not. So when you create instance variable, if you create object only, then only it will allocate the memory. But here it is class level. The moment when class loads, it will create this information. If you are not using, even then also it will create. Right. So if you are not using also, you are creating. Means we are wasting the memory in that scenario. Okay. Creating and destruction of static variable cannot be controlled. So if it is object, I will create the object. But here, you do not have any control. The moment when you class loads, it will get created and restricted. We cannot override the static methods. What do you mean by override? We will discuss, but static methods cannot be overridden. If one thread changes the static value, that can break the functionality of the other threads. So we already discussed that Java is multi-threaded. Multiple threads will execute simultaneously. If one thread changes the static value, other threads also get impacted. That we will see. Okay. So static variable we will see by taking one example. So I created one class called static variables with the main method. And now what I will do, I will create simple. Okay. Here int emp id is equals to 101. String emp name is equals to, I can say Tom. Okay. String, okay, company name is equals to as a Oracle. Okay. So for each employee, you have employee ID, employee name, in which company he is working. Fine. So now what I'll do, I'll try to print this employee information. System.out.println emp ID. So the same way, I will print emp name and let me put emp company name, employee company name. So if I try to execute this, okay, it is a main method, you can directly execute this. Java static variable.java. It will print that information 101 Tom Oracle. Okay. Now I have another what? Employee. Okay. And his employee ID is 102. His name is Jerry. The same company, right? We are talking about this particular company. So employee company name is Oracle. Okay. If I try to execute this, I will get an error. I'll tell you why. So valid emp ID is already defined in the method main. So no need to, already I initialized this. You cannot use duplicate. So if you want to use the same thing, remove this. If you put integer means again you are reinitializing with the same name. So it should be unique. So if you remove this, You're just changing, you are assigning another name, another ID. That's it. Okay. So now if I try to execute this now, you see that 101 Tom Oracle, 102 Jerry Oracle. Fine. But if I have 100 employees, 1000 employees in my company, I cannot keep writing like this 1000 times. At least 6 lines of code, 1000 into 6, 6000 lines of code you need to write. And using the same code. If you are using the same code, what you need to do, you need to create a method and you reuse the same thing. Okay. So fine. I'll create a method now for this. Okay. Now what I'll do, public void print employee information or details, whatever it is. And you can pass these arguments, right? What are the arguments? Int emp id, comma, string emp name. These two things are enough for me. Okay. Otherwise, I need to give the company name also. But let me put that first. String emp company name. Okay. I'm using the same thing again here. When I use here with the int emp id, I got an error, but I'm using here. So these are local to this method only, right? Because of that. So what I'll do, I'll take the same thing here. I'll print. Okay. So, but how I'll get the data to here? So I need to pass. I'll create an object to access this method. I need to create an object as this is not static. Okay. I'm talking about static variables. So after this, static variables, sv is equals to new static variables and sv dot print, and to pass that information. Okay. What is that I can pass? I said 200. I can say Krishna, employee name, comma, same Oracle, just assume. Okay. If I want to do the same thing again, okay, sv dot print 201, comma, Kumar, comma, same Oracle. All right. If I execute this now, I 101 Tom, all these things, and I'm getting Krishna, Kumar, all these things from here. So I simplified this big code. Okay. I simplified this big code. I don't need all these things now. Okay, let me remove. Okay. Simple, right? Instead of big code, I did simple. I created a method, reusable method, and I'm passing what information I want. I'm printing the same thing. But Oracle is same for each and every employee, right? So whenever you create an object, every time it will allocate the memory for this string. But this is not a memory efficient. So because of that, I can create what? I can create a static variable. Okay, where you need to create the static variable in the class level. Static string employee company name is equals to Oracle. Okay. So now I don't need this information to be passed even. Okay. I will remove this. I will remove this. And I don't need to pass this information here itself. But how I'll get that information? Right. So here I can directly use this. Right. As it will never change. This is not a dynamic data. For an employee, ID will be different, name will be different, but the company will not be different. So why to waste the memory? So right. So now I can execute the same thing. You see that? Even though I'm not passing, even though I'm not using here, directly I can access. Okay. The static I can directly use in the non-static method. Okay. But you can do in both the ways. You can directly use, otherwise you can use the class name dot, as already we are discussing that it is not depends upon the this object, it will depends upon the class. You see that static variables dot this class name dot, I can access this. If I try to execute the same, I'll get the same output. Okay. But what is the advantage of these things? That I can directly use EMP company name, then why to use this? All right. That I'll tell you why it is. But before that, if one thread changing the data, so other threads will get affected, right? That we discussed. So what I'll do now, I will change the value of, I'll create another object. Okay. I will create another object here. I can create how many objects I want, right? I'll create another object. I'll name it. You cannot give the same name. Already it's there. Why to create again? So I'll print again this information. I will print this information again, but it will be sv1 dot. Okay, sv1 dot, and I'll make it 10101. Sorry, Tom, and again Jerry. Right. So now if I execute this, another object, I'm calling those things. Now we'll see the difference. Now you do not see any issues now. So we created again. So 200 Krishna Oracle, 201 Kumar Oracle, 100 Tom Oracle, 101 Jerry Oracle. But what I'll do after, what I'll sv dot EMP code name, sorry, EMP company name, I will change it to Google. Okay. You just observe using the SV object, not SV1 object. Using this, I'm changing the name my Oracle to Google. Okay. Now you observe the output. Okay, we'll make it here after creating the object. So obviously SV object will use the Google company instead of Oracle, but SV1 I'm not doing any change. Okay. Now you observe the behavior. You see that it updated for everything, right? I changed it with SV object. Why SV1 object also getting the same information? So in the PPT, if you go up, here, you see that this is class level. All the objects will refer to this. With this object, I changed this name to company Oracle to Google. So it is changed in the only one level, right, in the class memory. So next time when EMP data object means another object accessing, then updated information will come. So if accidentally if you change, the other things will get the same thing. So that is the disadvantage we discussed, right? So if you change with this object, it is affecting means if it is with this thread, other threads will also get affected. Right, understand? So that is the one of the disadvantages. And one more thing, what we are saying, why this static variables dot EMP company name, right? So if you call this information from outside the class, not inside. Inside means you can directly call, but if it's outside the class, let me go to call variables, right? We have created for instance variables. So here itself, what I'll do, I'll create an object for static variables also. Okay. If I want to create static variables, S is equals to new static variables, S dot, right? But to access static variables, I don't need what? Object. Directly I can use the class. So what is the class? The class name is static variables. Dot EMP company name. Right. If I want to access this, first I need to compile this. Okay, that we have seen previously. So let me compile javac static variables dot java. So it get compiled. Now javac call variables dot java. Now java call variables. You see that I'm getting Oracle. The reason is I'm using with the class name, as this is static. Static can be accessed directly using the class name. So previously, if I want to access C, I need to create an object and that object dot C. This is for instance variables. But static variables, we don't need to create an object. By directly using the class name, you can access this. So that is the difference. So in other class, you need to use class name dot that variable name. If inside the class, you can directly use. Otherwise, you can use with the class name also. Both are possible. But here, if you do not put this class variables, you cannot access. This is outside of this class. So here it is useful. Okay. So this is all about static variables. So what could be the possible interview questions? Here, what is variable at the high level? They may ask. And they may ask, what is static keyword in Java and what is static variable? Okay. So that's all in this video. Thank you. Hi, in this video, we will see static methods in Java. Okay. So static method. To declare a method static, use static keyword in method declaration. Very simple. You need to use static keyword. So the syntax looks like pop access modifier, static data type, method name. You see that public static int get static value. This is a method. This is a variable, public static int, static int value that we already saw in our previous video. Here, public static int get static value is a method. In front of that method, if you put this static, this method becomes static method. Okay. You can access only static variables inside the static methods. Okay, you cannot access non-static variables. If you try to access any non-static variable, then compiler will throw an error. Static methods can be accessed via its class reference, not with the object, right? And there is no need to create an instance of class. The same way, the rules applicable, what applicables for the static variable, same way for the static method also. Static method also belong to class level scope, not object level scope. So we will try to write one program and we'll see how it works. So let me go to Visual Studio Code here. I have created a class called static methods and I created a main method. Okay. So in the class level, let me create two variables. Int num is equals to 10. That is instance variable, non-static. Static int, I'll say static num to make the differentiation. There is no need to put static for the variable name. You need to put for the here, but here no need. This just to show the difference between these two. I'm naming static num. Okay, you can put ABC, XYZ, whatever you want. Okay, static num is equals to 20. Okay, so let me create a normal non-static method. Public void sum. Okay, inside the sum, what I'm doing, system dot out dot println num plus num. Okay, I'm adding that 10 plus 10 simply. Num plus num means 10 plus 10. So to access this num, this is non-static method, I can directly access. Okay, right. But I can even use non-static also, right? So we can access non-static also from the non-static. Okay, so this is how you can use. Now, if I want to print this, means execute and print, I need to create an object. The reason is this is non-static. Non-static means we need to create an object. So static means equal to new static methods. s dot sum. Okay, that's it. Let me execute this. So Java C static methods dot Java. I'm compiling just, and Java static methods. You see that 20 and 40, 10 plus 10, 20 plus 20. Simple, but we are talking about static methods. So public static void, I say static sum. How we take static num, we'll do the static sum. There is no need to put static in front of the method name, but this static is compulsory. With the help of this only, it becomes static method, but here you can put any name. So inside the static sum, okay, I will call both. Okay, I'll call both here. Right, I will call both. Then what happens? Java static methods dot Java. I'll get an error that non-static variable num cannot be referenced from a static context. So clearly mentioning non-static variable cannot be used inside the static method. So if I comment this, okay, if I comment this and execute the same thing, now you'll get the output. But I did not call this method, right? To call this method, I can directly call. The reason is this is static method, no need to create an object. So this is inside the class, I can directly use. If it is outside the class, class name dot, this one how we use for the variable. Okay, so let me execute now. You can get the 240s now, right? This 40 is coming from this static sum, it is executing here non-static stuff. So to call the non-static from the, static from the static, no need to create an object. Okay, so you can directly do this one also. Dot. Okay, static stuff you can use with the help of class name. So if I execute the same thing, same output, I don't get any issues. But this is helpful when you're calling from the outside of this class that we saw for the static variables, the same way. Okay, so if I want to use this num in the static, I need to create an object. This is also static method, right? In the static method, how I am creating object. Here also, if you want to use this num, non-static stuff, you need to create the object here also. That's how you can access. But this is inside this static method, I'm directly using in the static with the help of class or without. Okay, I'm calling in the static method. But outside the class, so I don't need this one inside this, but outside I'll do the same thing how we did for the variables from other class. Okay, so what is this static methods? Class name is static methods dot static num. Right, sorry, static num method. Okay, we're talking about the methods, right? Starting sum, not num, static sum. I can call with the help of class. There is no need to create object. This is static method. Static method can be accessed using class name. So if I want to execute, I need to compile the previous one. Java C static methods.java. And again, Java C call variables.java. So I'm getting an error. Void type not allowed here. What void type? So it is saying void type not allowed here, right? We did a mistake. So this is not a variable to print. This is a method, right? So it itself, it is having system.out.println inside this. It will print this one, right? So I made a mistake. So now if you come here and if you try to compile this now or execute, So let me compile this. If I execute now, you see that I'm getting 40, right? This is 20 plus 20, 40, right? With the help of class, I'm directly calling. Here how I'm calling, directly calling the method. Outside the class, with the help of class, I'm calling. Normally instance variables demo, how I called, I created an object. The reason is this is not static. If it is static, class name dot that method. So this is how you can call from the outside of the method. Okay. So this is all about static methods. Let me go to PPT. So what could be the possible interview questions? They may ask what is static keyword and what is static method, what is the use of static method, how you can call static method, all these things. Okay, that's all in this video. Thank you. Hi, in this video, we will see static import in Java. Okay, so the normal import declaration imports classes from the packages. So they can be used without package reference. Similarly, the static import declaration imports static members from the classes and allowing them to be used without class reference. So if it is static, in the previous videos, we have seen that how to call these static methods with the help of static class dot variable or class dot method, right? But in Java, you will create so many packages, right? So Java also created its own packages while they're creating so many classes, right? Once you install, you will get everything. If you want to use some class from the Java, then you need to import that package where the class is declared inside the package. That package you need to use import in your class using the one of the keywords called import. Okay. So, but with the static import, we can avoid using the class name. We'll use class name dot method name, right? If you static import that class, then no need to mention class name dot method. You can directly use that method. Okay, that is the advantage. A static import statement also comes in two flavors: single static import and static import on demand. Okay, a single static import declaration imports only one static member from a type. A static import on demand declaration imports all static members of type. So that we will see. So how it will be: single static import declaration, import, this is the keyword I'm saying, import, static, this is the what we are discussing, static import, package name dot, type name dot, static member name. Okay, so this is single static. On demand means import static, package name dot, type name dot, instead of mentioning static member name, you will mention star. Star means all the static members from this package. Okay, so everything. So we will see by taking one example. So I have created one class called static imports in the main method. So let me write one thing. System dot out dot print ln. Okay, print ln. There is a class called math. Okay, math is a class in java.lang package that we need to import. But by default, this system, this math comes with java.lang. So we no need to import that. But apart from java.lang, if you are using any class from other packages, that you need to import here. If it is java.lang, no need. Okay. But here, math dot, you have one of the methods, means static method called math.random. Okay. In the same way, this is a math class. So mathematics related stuff will be there. So math.random, square root, SQRT of 9. Sorry, 9 square root. It will calculate 9 square root. Okay. And math.random means it will give some random number. It will print some random number. Okay. So first we will execute this and we'll come to the static import. When I execute nothing, it will just print, you see that, some random number and 3.09 square root is 3, but it is giving in the form of double. Return type is double, so it is giving me in the double. Okay, so if I want to use the methods inside the random, I need to call math dot something like that. But I don't want to do that. I want to use only random. I don't want to do this math again and again. Okay. For that, you can do static import. How you do that static import? Import is a keyword and static is a keyword. Java dot lang dot math. Okay. So you need to do something like this. Then if you put dot star, means you can use all the methods. This is on demand, right? This is called on demand, they said. So java.lang.math.star. Okay, so let me comment this just for a moment. I will remove this math. Okay, I will remove this math and I'll try to execute this now. Then it will throw error. I don't know what is this random. Cannot find symbol random, cannot find symbol square root. I don't know what is this where you are getting. So if you put math, it will come to know, okay, there is a math class inside that, this is a method. So I need to go there and I need to execute the logic inside that random and square root. But I want to use this the same way how I'm doing, but I don't want to put math dot, and I want to execute successfully. So at that time, you do static import. Import static java.lang.math.star. Okay. Then if you go and execute, now it will execute, no problem. So I removed math dot, but how it is taking? So with the help of static import, if you do static import, no need to use this math dot again and again. You can directly use the methods inside this math. That is one thing. We'll do one more thing. This system.out.println also, it is irritating. Like keep every time, no, system.out.println, system.out.println. Can we restrict this one also like how we did? Can we do the same thing? So we can do the same thing. Import static. This is also from java.lang dot system.star. So now I don't need to use this system again and again. I'll remove this system. Only out dot is enough. Okay, out dot is enough. Let me run this. Now I should not get any error. You see that? Again, some random number and 3.0. So I removed the system, even though it is working. I removed math here, even though it is working, because we imported with the static keyword, static import. This is called static import. And we can, no need to write that class name again and again. Okay. So that's all about the static import. What could be the possible interview questions? Same way static keyword and what is the static import? What is the use of static import? Okay. That's all in this video. Thank you. Hi. In this video, we will see static block in Java. Okay. So static blocks are portion of class initialization code. Okay. Class initialization code, which are wrapped with static keyword. Okay. Static blocks are executed when the class is loaded in the memory. The moment class loads in the memory, then it will get executed. A class can have multiple static blocks and these will be executed in the same sequence in which they appear in the class definition. So how you, in which sequence you write, the same sequence, it will get executed. So it will be, looks like this static initializer. We need to use static keyword and inside these curly braces, whatever you want to use, you write. So this will get executed the moment when the class loads in the memory. Okay, with the help of example, we'll see. I created one of the classes called static blocks, and we are already discussing that main method is the starting point of your program execution. Because of that, if you write any methods, you need to call those methods from the main method. Then only it will get executed and you can get the output, right? But there is a like one more thing called static block that we are discussing. This static means anything can be executed before main method. Yes, that is called static block. Okay. So here I'll write system dot out dot println. Okay. So this is main method. Okay, this is main method. So here, if I execute, it will print. The reason is I'm in the main method. It will directly execute the main method and it will print. But if I want to print something before this, so that can be done using static block. Simply static. You just put curly braces. Just type, if you want to see that output, you just mention this is static block. Okay, that simple it is. Let me go to command prompt execute Java static blocks dot Java. So as per the rule, what we have seen, main method will get executed first. First it will come here. But here how it is printing? It is printing. This is static block first, and this is main method second. Means first it executed this one. Means before main method also, if you want to execute something, you need to put in the static method. The moment when static blocks class loads in the memory, it will directly get executed. So if I cut this one, if I put after this main method, what happens? Even then also, you'll get the same output. Wherever it is, the static block itself executes the moment the class will loads in the memory. You see that? This is static block and main method. But if you have multiple static blocks, so the way how you put in the sequence, static block 1 and static block 2. Okay. If I try to execute this, you see that static block 1, and this is after the main method. Even then also, static will execute before main, right? So with the sequence, it first, then this is second, and this is last. So this is how you can use static block in your Java. Okay. So what could be the possible interpretations here? What is static keyword in Java? And what do you mean by static block? And what is the purpose of static block? Okay. So that's all in this video. Thank you. Hi, in this video, we will see static class in Java. Okay. What do you mean by static class in Java? In Java, you can have static class as inner class. Just like another static members, nested classes belong with class scope. So the inner static class can be accessed without having an object of outer class. Okay, no need to create an object for the class to access this class. The same way how we did for the static variable, static methods, right? Static inner class cannot access the non-static members of outer class. Okay. Non-static members, you cannot access outer class. It can access only static members from the outer class. Right. So how it will be looks like. So Java class, Java static example, I have written in one main method. This class is class data object. Here I have created two things, non-static variable, static variable. So it is the static inner class. This is a static class, static inner class. Inside that, inner non-static variable, inner static variable. Okay. So by taking one example, we'll see everything, how it will be. So I created one class called static class. So inside this, I need to create another class. Okay. So you can create like that class, but it should not be public. So that we will discuss in upcoming videos. Public inner class. Okay. In the inner class, you have public int non-static variable. Okay. And public static int static variable. Okay. This is static variable. And inside this, I have a inner class. What is that? Static class, static inner class. Okay. So the names, whatever you want, you can give. Int. So I'm just putting another, I'm initializing another variables. What is that? Inner non-static variable is equals to 10 int static int inner static variable is equals to some 50, like this. Okay, what is this? Static variable inside inner static class. Okay, now what I'll do here from other class, I want to print something. Okay, I want to print something. System dot out dot print ln. With the class name only, you can directly access static methods, right? Static things, right? So what is that class? Inner class dot. What and another, what is that? Static inner class. Inside that static is what? Inner static variable. So static inner class dot inner static variable. That's it. Okay. This class having static class. If it is static, I can directly use with the help of class name. So class name dot static inner. Inside this, another static is there. This variable static means directly with the help of class name, I can call it. I did the same thing. Inner class dot static inner dot class dot inner static variable. So if I try to execute this, sorry, I need to get 50, right? You see that? I got 50. So classes also I'm getting with the help of class name. Right. So if I try to do this for non-static variable, okay, inner non-static variable. So this is not accessible with the help of class name. If you try to do that, obviously you'll get error. What is that? Non-static variable, inner non-static variable cannot be referred from a static context, right? So you cannot do this. But if you assign some variable to the static variable, okay, there is nothing, right? I will assign myself inner class dot static variable is equals to some 25. Now, if I want to print system dot out dot print ln, I can directly print this. I'm not going inside this. Even then also class name dot. This is already we have seen, but I'm just showing this. This is we have seen with other class in our previous videos. Now it will print what? 25. You see that 50 from here, 25 from here. Okay, but if it is non-static variable, okay, I'll do the same thing. Inner class dot non-static variable. 45, something like this. So this is non-static. Non-static I cannot access with the help of class name. So obviously you will get an error. For that I need to create an object, right? For this I need to create an object. So but static stuff we can directly access using the class name. Even if it is static class, you see that static class dot inside that static stuff I'm directly accessing. Okay, this is all about static classes in Java. Okay, so what could be the possible interview questions? What is static keyword and what is static class? Can you explain with an example? Okay, so that's all in this video. Thank you.